Welcome to Gingus Reads, the audiobook series. Today, Gingus will be reading Stink and the World's Worst Super-Stinky Sneakers by McDonald. Please enjoy.
Gross me out. Skinko. Skunksville. Stink Moody was in love. In love with school, that is. It was the best day ever of second grade. The best day ever for class 2D. And maybe possibly the best day ever in the whole world and his entire life so far. Mrs. D was taking Stink Moody and his class on a field trip. A smell trip. To the smelliest place on earth. Class 2D was going on a special trip to the Gross Me Out exhibit at the Science Museum, and Skink had a fifth sense that it was going to be the smelliest field trip ever. Stink carpooled with his two best not smelly friends, Webster and Sophie of the Elves, a.k.a. Elizabeth, but nobody was allowed to call her that. Hey guys, did you know one human being person can smell about 10,000 smells? Also, smelling peppermint makes you smarter. No way, no how, said Webster. I love peppermint ice cream, said Sophie, so I guess that makes me smart. How do you know so much about smelly stuff anyway? Asked Webster. His name's Stink, isn't it? Said Sophie. No, come on, for real, said Webster. Don't forget I read the whole entire encyclopedia. Books do not lie, especially the encyclopedia. Class 2D followed the teacher into the museum. Stink ducked as he stepped through a pair of ugly red lips and giant chomping teeth at the entrance to the wonderful world of smelly stuff. Slimy, oozy, stinky, gooey. There were beeps and toots and blinking lights in every direction. Where to start? The vomit machine, musical farts, the burp-o-meter. Stink could not decide. I think there's a giant nose here somewhere, he told his friends. I saw the picture in the paper. Count me out, said Webster. Where's there a giant nose, there could be giant boogers, said Sophie and Webster at the same time, shivering at the thought. Well, I'm going to check out the giant nose first, said Stink. Not me, said Webster. Not me, said Sophie. Okay, smell you around, Stink said, cracking himself up. Stink took an up-close and personal tour of the giant. He got attacked by giant nose hairs, peered down a big, giant, ugly, bumpy throat, and skipped through the hall of mucus. He even learned how boogers are made. Not pretty. Having fun? Mrs. D asked him. Are you kidding? This is more fun than earwax, Stink told Mrs. D. And educational too, he added. Grown-ups love the E-word. They like to think you are learning stuff no matter what. Mrs. D smiled. Stink, you seem to be interested in the smells of smell. Maybe you'd like to try the Everybody Stinks exhibit. Nobody else seems to want to go near it. Mrs. D pinched her nose and shook her head. How smelly can it be? Stink said bravely. Mrs. D pointed to the far end of the exhibit. Stink strolled over and read the instructions. Match the body odor with the body parts that came from. Stink read aloud. Before Stink knew it, the whole class had gathered around. Webster announced to the class, "Hey everybody, Stink's going to smell B.O." Stink wasn't so sure he wanted to smell B.O., but he hated to let Webster and everybody down. So Stink mustered up all his courage, leaned over, put his nose right up to the bottle, and squeezed. He took one sniff, then scrunched up his face, clutched his chest, and crumpled to the floor. "Oh," everybody gasped, taking in what sounded like one big breath. "Ha ha ha ha, gotcha," Stink cried, jumping back up. "What did it smell like?" Sophie asked. "Feet," said Stink. "It's not that bad. Just smells like dirty socks when your feet sweat and you take your shoes off." "Sounds bad to me," said Webster. Sting squeezed the bottle. "Ugh. This one smells like onion, maybe garlic. Phew, bad breath," Sting said, waving his hand in front of his face. "P.U. This one smells like my soccer shirt. Armpit alert." "It's B.O., someone shouted. "He did it. He really smelled B.O. And he didn't even faint." After Stink smelled all the body part smells, he moved to the next station. "Rotten eggs, dirt, perfume, mothballs, junk, rotten cabbage, dog breath, old fish, dead broccoli." Stink sniffed and snuffled his way through a dozen yucky, rotten smells. He made a few faces, but he guessed every single smell right. "P.U., how do you do that? You didn't miss one," said Webster. "I just follow my nose," said Stink, sticking his expert sniffer in the air. "You always were nosy," said Sophie of the Elves, laughing. Some people have an excellent sense of smell," Mrs. D explained. "I smell something too," said Sophie. "Hamburgers!" "When do we launch?" asked Webster. "My system is empty." Class 2D sat at the picnic tables outside, munching on sandwiches. Mrs. D passed around flyers from the museum about a stinky sneaker contest being held at the park in 2 weeks. Stink read the flyer. "Wow, check it out. Anybody can enter?" "Anybody with smelly sneakers," said Mrs. D, chuckling. "Stinks are the worst," said Webster, backing away from Stink. "But my sneakers are so smelly I had to wear rain boots today," said Sophie, showing off her pink polka dot boots. "I bet I can win." "My sneakers will beat the pants off yours any day," Stink told Sophie. "But you haven't even smelled mine," said Sophie. Stink shrugged. "I'm saying, but his sneakers just had to be the smelliest. But what if Sophie's were super stinky bad too? Or worse?" "Well, I'm sure my daughter will want to enter the smell monster," Mrs. D said, making air quotes with her hands. That's what we call her sneakers. So I hope to see some of you there in 2 weeks." Then Mrs. D asked them all about what they had learned at the Gross Me Out exhibit. "I learned that even walruses have dandruff," said Eliza. "I learned the words to the diarrhea song," said Patrick. "Let's wait till after lunch to hear that," Mrs. D. "I learned how to say fart in Spanish," said Jordan. "Pedo." "I learned that spit is gross," said Riley. "I learned that there are more critters in your mouth than people in Australia," said Sophie and the Elves. "I learned that Stink is the best smeller in the world," said Webster. "We should call you the Nose," said Sophie. "You know how to smell better than a dog." "Better than an ant," said Stink. Everybody looked at him funny. "What?" An ant has 5 noses, said Stink, holding his head and tapping his honker. No lie. I'm home, Stink called, bursting through the front door. How was your field trip? Mom asked. You mean my smell trip? Said Sting. He reached into his backpack and handed his mom the flyer for the smelly sneaker contest. I think it really stinks that Stink got to go to the Stinky Museum and I didn't, said his big sister Judy. It was way fun and gross. I learned a ton of smelly stuff. Like what? Judy asked. Like everybody has their own smell except if you're twins. And guess what? We can smell stuff even if we're sleeping. And oh yeah, a boy moth can smell a girl moth a block away. Mr. Knows It All, said Judy. Sting stuck his ex-person ever in the air. Is something burning? Ack, said Mom, rushing to the kitchen, whisking the skillet off the stovetop. She waved her hand through the smoke. I was making toasted cheese sandwiches for the king. And now your cheese sandwiches are toast, said Judy, cracking herself up. Good thing you smelled something, Sting, said Mom. Human smoke alarm, said Judy. At the museum, kids were calling me the nose, said Sting, tapping his right nostril. I found out today that I can smell stuff really, really great. Better than anybody in the whole class. Sophie says I smell better than a dog. I should hope so, said Mom. Mom and Judy cracked up. Woof, said Stink. And here I thought you just had a nose for trouble, said Mom. Laugh all you want, said Stink, but this nose could make me famous. My elbow's famous, said Judy, holding up the elbow that has once starred in a picture in the newspaper. No, I mean it. When I grow up, I'm gonna do something great with this nose, said Stink. You can't waste a nose like this. He admired himself in the mirror, turning his head from left to right and studying the nose, his best feature. You could be a circus freak, said Judy, like the guy with the 7.5-inch long nose. No, I mean like a professional speller. I thought you wanted to be president of your own candy store. That was before the nose, said Stink. What happened to being an inventor? Asked Mom. I can still invent stuff, like an alarm clock that wakes you up with a smell. There's no such job as a smeller, is there, Mom? Judy asked. I don't really know, said Mom. Maybe you could work for a perfume company, or you could test smells for new products. I have a smell test, said Judy. Cover your eyes with the blindfold and now find smelly stuff and see if you can guess what it is. It's called the Way Official Moody Stinkathon. Easy, said Stink. Though the two kids ran upstairs. Judy got a banana enough and tied it nice and snug over Stink's eyes. She held the end of a pencil under his nose. Rubbery, smells like a pencil. Eraser, said Stink. Ah, Judy picked up a marker from Stink's desk. Smelly marker. Red. You peeked, said Judy. Did not, did too. Nobody can smell colors. Not even Mr. Knows It All. Yeah, huh? It's watermelon flavored. Judy held up a bubblegum comic. Stink sniffed several times. He thought. He sniffed again. Bubblegum. Wrong, said Judy. Bubblegum comic. No fair, said Stink. Judy went and got her Venus flytrap. Stink sniffed the air once, twice. Jaws, he said, grinning. How did you know? Asked Judy. Venus flytraps don't smell. They do if they're baiting raw hamburgers and dead flies. Hold on, wait right there. Judy ran downstairs and came back with more stuff to smell. One by one, she held them up to Stink's nose. Pepper, said Stink. Achoo! He sneezed. Dad's coffee. Bluck. Lemon, stinky cheese, week-old pizza. Wow, said Judy. You even got the week-old pizza. I know you're peeking. I know you're peeking. No way, I swear on Toady, said Stink. This time I'm really going to stump you. Ready? Ready, said Stink, sticking his nose up in the air. Judy held out the secret smelly. Stink stomping a Doric off object. P.U., said Stink. It's worse than smelly sneakers. Worse than dirty sock. Worse than a skunk. It smells like 100-year-old barf. Wrong, said Judy. Is it 200-year-old buffalo dong? Nope. Is it a stinky baby diaper? N-O. Is it eggs? 1,000-year-old rotten eggs? Rumpelstiltskin, said Judy. How did you guess it was stinky old eggs? You mean I guessed it? For real? Stink yanked off his blindfold. Lumpy clumps of something disgusting, or a mouse's cat food dish. It is rotten eggs, said Judy. Beef and scrambled egg cat food. Mouse won't eat the egg part. Just call me Rumpelstiltskin, said Stink, cracking himself up. Judy cracked up too. So, did I pass the smell test? With flying colors, said Judy. You truly lived up to the name Stink. From this day forward, you will be known as Rumpelstiltskin, grand prize winner of the Way Official Moody Stinkathon. What's my prize? asked Stink. No prize, said Judy. Just the satisfaction of knowing how smelly you are. That really stinks, said Stink. Stink printed a page from his favorite website called The Science of Stink and ran to show his family. Hey guys, said Stink. What's taller than a man, smells worse than roadkill, and looks like the color of blood? An elephant painting a picture? asked Judy. No way, said Stink. Is it the abominable smell man? asked Judy. Frankenstein Valentine? Could somebody else guess, please? asked Stink. I'm still thinking, said Mom. Let's see, said Dad. How about Santa Claus driving a garbage truck? No, said Stink. I'll give you a hint. It's something Mom likes a real lot. Are you sure? Mom asked. I can't imagine any liking anything that smells like roadkill. Give up? It's a corpse flower, cried Stink. World's smelliest flower. It says so right here. Stink showed his family a full-color photo of Trudy the Titan. Rare, said Judy. It says it only blooms a few times in his life, and it stinks worse than rotten eggs for about 3 days. Worse than rotten fish and rotting pumpkins too, said Mom. Phew. Insects like it though, said Dad, reading over Stink's shoulder. They can have it, said Mom. And look here, Stink said, pointing to the bottom of the page. It says scientists come from all over the country to take samples of Trudy's perfume and bottle some up. Mom, you were right. That's something I could do with my nose. Make stinky perfume? asked Judy. "I meant be a scientist," said Stink. "You know, I'd get to sniff out rare, smelly flowers and study them and stuff." "Bluck," said Judy. "It says here, in the first 10 hours, the corpse flower smells as bad as an outhouse. Or dead elephants. Do you really want to smell dead elephants for a living, Stink?" "Well, stinky perfume's a good idea, too," said Stink. "In my day, we called it toilet water," said Mom. "I'm serious, Mom," said Stink. "I'm not kidding," said Mom. "You can buy it at the store. It's just like perfume, only watered down a bit. And they call it eau de toilette." "Is that French for order of toilet?" said Stink, cracking up. "Something like that," Mom said. "But who'd wear stinky perfume on purpose?" asked Judy. "Same people who pay a lot of money for toilet water," said Stink. Dad couldn't help snickering at that one. "A person could wear stinky perfume to scare a vampire," said Stink. "Or, better yet, big sisters. Judy cooties." "Hardy har har," said Judy. "All I need now are a few dead elephants," said Stink. On Saturday morning, Stink could not wait to start his new career. He set up his lab in the kitchen sink. He laid out tweezers and eyedroppers on a towel. He lined up 10 empty little He lined up 10 empty little spice jars on the counter. He collected a he collect he he collected a whole jar of real toilet water from the toilet. Perfect. The doorbell rang. "Hi, Liz. Sophie of the Elves," said Judy. "Come on in, Dr. Frankenstink is in his lab." "Stink, your friend with the funny name is here." Stink came out of the kitchen wearing Mom's apron and green rubber scrub gloves. "Hi, Sophie," said Stink. "Stink's making stinky perfume," Judy explained, drawing circles in the air for the cuckoo sign. "Wanna help?" Stink asked. "Sure," said Sophie. I like making magic potions and stuff." "Magic potions," said Judy. "You mean love potions?" "Let's go," said Stink. "Maybe we can make some potions that turn big sisters into warthogs." Back in Frank and Stink lab, Stink got out Mom's measuring cups and spoons. Sophie stirred together spices and food coloring. "Are you entering the smelly sneaker contest Saturday?" she asked Stink. "Definitely," said Stink. "Me too," Sophie said. Stink looked down at Sophie's sneakers. They were bad, all right. Her toe poked out of one, the laces were almost black, and the tongues hung sideways, worse than a slobbery dog. "They smell like a swamp," said Stink, even though he knew his stinkers could beat hers any day. "And these aren't even my worst pairs," Sophie grinned. "Uh-oh," thought Stink. "Well, sure hope one of us wins," Sophie said. "Yeah, I hope the one of us is me," Stink joked. "Here, add some toilet water," Stink said, pouring the wad from the toilet into the blender. They added green pickle juke, then added PU garlic. They added slimy dead flower water. "Disgusting," said Sophie, staring at the oogie green murk in the blender. "What else stinks around here?" asked Stink. "Besides you," said Judy, walking past the kitchen. "Hardy har har," said Stink. "This potion smells bad, but it's not even close to corpse flour, said Stink. He ran upstairs and came back in a flash, holding up a small amber glass vial. Toad food. Tofu? asked Sophie. Tofu doesn't smell. No, toad food. Actually, it's dead shrimp eggs from a science kit. Even Toadie won't eat it. Shrink shook the bottle till it was empty, then pushed the buttons on the blender. Mix, whip, puree, liquefy! Stink and Sophie watched a twisting tornado of green gunk whip itself into a frothy frenzy. Off. Perfect, said Stink, peering into the foamy blender. In no time, they had 10 whole bottles of putrid perfumes lined up and down the counter. Let's label them and give them names, said Stink. How about the eau de corpse flower? It's French. Essence of toads, said Sophie. Venus de Stinko, said Stink. Just then, Mouse crept into the kitchen. She took one whiff, let out a yowl, and bolted outside through the cat door. Stink handed Sophie an eyedropper. Help me fill this little vial, said Stink. Sophie squeezed the last drops from the blender into the teeny tiny bottle, then screwed the cap back on. She helped Stink tie a piece of string around it, looping it over his neck. What are you going to do with this stinky perfume? asked Sophie of the elves. Keep away vampires? Keep away sisters, said Stink. P.U., said Judy, coming into Stink's room. Did you take a bath in that stinky perfume or something? Or something, said Stink. Then I hate to tell you, but you have a UFO in your room. Do not, said Stink. Not the alien kind of UFO, said Judy. An unidentified full flying odor. I can smell it from my room. Stink kicked his sneakers under the bed. Stink, it's those sneakers. You're stinking up the whole house with those yucks. You have to get them out of here. Stink tossed his sneakers in the hallway. That's even closer, said Judy. I can already smell them up on my top bunk. Even Mouse is about to pass out from the fumes. Stink went back to his desk and scribbled on a piece of paper. He came out into the hallway and tacked up a sign over his sneakers. Beware, Hall of Fumes. Ha ha, very funny. Like that really helped, said Judy, pinching her nose and clothes and talking in a funny voice. Just shut your door, said Stink, like this. He slammed the door on purpose. Stink heard Judy stomp into the bathroom. Stink heard Judy slam the medicine cabinet door. Stink heard Judy rattle around in the hall. Stink could not concentrate on drawing comics. He could not read the T for Toads encyclopedia. He could not hear himself think with all that stomping and slamming and rattling. Stink opened his door. A cloud of white dust attacked him. He coughed and waved his hand in front of his face. Stink could hardly see his sister. Judy had powder in her hair and on her face and all the way down to her shoes. She looked like a human marshmallow. She looked like the abdominal snow girl. She looked like a cumulonimbus cloud. What's with all the powder? Stink asked, still coughing. Then the cloud cleared. The dust settled, and Stink saw it. Oh no, screamed Stink. My sneakers, my beautiful super smelly sneakers. It's okay, said Judy. The powder will help. It'll soak up the smell and they won't stink so bad. No, you don't get it, said Stink. I was stinking them up on purpose so I could enter in the all-time world's worst super stinky sneaker contest. How could you not know that? How could you forget? Oops, said Judy. Stink did not know what to do. Now his perfectly smelly sneakers were not perfect at all. They were perfect for winning in an air freshener contest. They were perfect for winning in a not stinky perfume contest. No way they were going to beat Sophie now. Go get Mom, said Stink. It's an emergency, a super stinky sneaker emergency. Trust me, Stink, all the powder in the world could not make those puppies smell good again. They smell even worse now, if you ask me. Kinda sweet, but kinda sour. Sweet and sour sneakers. I mean, they still make me gag and almost want to barf. Almost is not good enough to win, said Stink. They have to have at least a double gag factor, a triple quadruple barf factor. And why don't we just smell them up more? Asked Judy. Operation Smelly Sneaker. We could pour vinegar on them, or pickle juice. We could throw them in the garbage for a while. Wait, I know. I got it. Judy snapped her fingers. We could use a bottle of your stinky perfume. That would be cheating, said Stink. The rules say that you have to stink them up by wearing them. Pickle juice is legal. Garbage doesn't count. And stinky perfume is definitely against the rules. The rules say what to do if your big sister goofs up. The rules say you better run, said Stink. He chased his sister down the hall and into the bathroom and out of the bathroom and down the stairs and in the kitchen and around the table, holding out his vial of anti-stacer sneaky perfume all the while. Next Saturday morning, Stinky woke up to the most wonderful smell. Not pancakes cooking, not bacon frying. The yucky, blocky, putrid stench of smelly sneakers. Sweet. The sneakers were wonderfully smelly again. Back to where they were before his sister, the human marshmallow, went powder crazy and made them smell sweet as roses. Stink was going to win the all-time world's worst super stinky sneaker contest for sure. And today was the big day. His moment to shine. His moment to stink. What's that smell, Dad asked at breakfast. Don't tell me Mouse dragged another dead critter in here. It's him, said Judy, pointing to your brother. Stink, you reek. Eureka, said Stink. Get it, Eureka? I get that you smell, said Judy. Stink's emptying a rock and sneaker contest today, Mom explained to Dad. Interesting, Dad. My teacher's going to be there, Stink told him. She said if I come early, I'll be able to meet somebody interesting. It's probably just a guy dressed up like a giant sneaker or something, said Judy. Or something, said Stink. Mom, Dad, can I go too, Judy asked. Just to watch, I mean. Let's all go, said Dad. But only if we put the smelly sneakers in the trunk, right, Dad? Said Judy. When Stink got to the contest, Webster and Sophia the elves came running up to him. There's no contest, said Webster. What? Asked Stink. What do you mean? I know it's today. One of the judges caught a cold and he can't smell right, said Sophie. So we had to cancel the contest. No way. Yeah, Mrs. D said. I'm not even in the contest, but I feel bad for you and Sophie, Webster told his friend. Stink could not believe his stinky, awful, no good, very bad luck. You mean I never wore the same socks for 6 days and slept in my sneakers and tramped through mud puddles and swamp water for nothing? Just then, Stink saw his teacher. Mrs. D, Stink called Stink. Is it true? There's really not going to be a stinky sneaker contest? Well, said Mrs. D, we might have a way to save the day. Really? Everybody asked. Stink, when we heard one of the judges was sick, I thought, who else do we know who just might have an amazing, incredible sense of smell? And right away, I thought of you, Stink. Moody, the nose. Stink could be a judge, said Webster. What do you say, Stink? Asked Mrs. D. Me, a judge? For real? You mean I, Stink Moody, get to be a real and true professional smeller? Just call him Professor Smells a Lot, said Judy. In the middle of the park stood a big red and white striped circus tent with a banner that said, Welcome to the ATWWSSC, All-Time World's Worst Super-Stinky Sneaker Contest. Enter at your own risk. Dad and I wander around and meet you kids back here later, said Bob. Stink opened the flaps and stepped through the tent door. Phew! A great wall of smell almost knocked him over. It was like standing smack dab in the middle of a cloud. A giant invisible cumulonimbus stink cloud. Worse than 30 dead elephants. Worse than 60 corpse flowers. Worse than 99 bottles of toilet water. Lined up on tables all around the tent was dozens of putrid sneakers. Each pair had a number, so nobody would know who owned which sneakers. Stink took his smelly shoes out of the bag and set them on the table. You'll be number 27, said a lady behind the table. Stink, said Judy. You can't enter your own shoes in the contest. Why not? Stink said. You don't get it? You're a judge now. Judges can't win the contest. That's like voting for yourself for president. So, Stink would think it was fair if I were a judge, and Stink, would you think it was fair if I were a judge and I picked my own sneakers to win? Not really, said Stink. See, picking your own sneakers makes you a cheaterhead. A cheesehead? Said Stink. No, a big fat cheaterhead, Judy said. Just then, Mrs. D motioned for Stink to come over to the important table up front where the judges sat. Red and blue ribbons were set out on a fancy tablecloth alongside the shiny golden clothespin trophy. What's with the fancy clothespin? Whispered Judy. That's the award, said Stink, pinching his nose shut like with a clothespin and making a pew face. Here's your new judge, Mrs. D told the other two judges. Meet James Moody. Believe it or not, he goes by the name Stink. The other two judges laughed. Well, your name alone qualifies you to be a judge, said the woman from Old Munchers. Thanks, Stink. You really saved the day. Glad to meet you. I'm Mr. Moore. Call me Steve, said the other judge. You sure are tall, said Stink, shaking his hand. Stink, said Mr. D. This is the man I wanted you to meet. Mr. Steve, is a professional smeller. That's me, said Steve. You mean that's your job? Do you smell stuff? Asked Stink. That's my job. I work for NASA and they call me the master sniffer. They call me the nose, said Stink excitedly. I want to be a professional smeller when I grow up. But my sister said, What kind of stuff do you smell, Judy? Asked Steve. Anything that goes up into space. I'm your man. If it's too smelly, we can't have it aboard the space shuttle. Up there, you can't just open a window. You'd be surprised at the number of things that don't pass the smell test. Really? Like what? like film for a camera, felt tip markers, a stuffed teddy bear. Bad news, Stink. You can't go up into space now. They won't let you take your teddy bear. Hardy har har, said Stink. Steve the Smeller laughed a deep laugh. What do you have to do to be a professional speller? Stink asked. Do you have to be tall? Because I'm short. No, but you can't have allergies, said Steve. You have to be good at detecting order, like, say, new car smell. And you have to be willing to sniff bad smells, even a dirty diaper. Stink nodded like a bobblehead doll on a dashboard. I sniffed the whole stinky museum, Stink told him. And of course you have to pass a test. Every few months I have to take a 10-bottle test. I made 10 bottles of my own stinky toilet water, said Stink. Just ask my sister. I sniff scents in a bottle and I have to guess if it's popcorn or wet paint smell, said Steve. Then I rated it on a stiff scale from 0 to 4. Anything over a 2.4 on the sniff scale fails a test. Kind of like what we're going to do today. And I passed my sister's away official Moody Stinkathon, Stink told him. Good for you, said Steve. Sounds like you're already on your way to becoming a master sniffer. Someday I really want to smell a corpse flower. Oh, those corpse flowers sure are humdingers, said Steve. I flew all the way to England once, just to smell one at the Royal Botanic Gardens. Whoa, no way! Stink wanted to hear more, but it was time for the contest to begin. Stink rushed over to the Smelly Sneakers number 27. He hated to admit that Judge Judy was right, but entering his own sneakers was no fair. He, Stink Moody, did not want to be the unproud winner of the all-time world's worst super stinky cheater contest. Stink gave the number back to the lady. I'm not in the contest anymore, he told her. I'm a judge now. No, I did, Stink. Want to cheat. He was an official junior sniffer now. A junior sniffer could be a big, fat, cheesy cheesehead cheaterhead. Could not be a big, fat, cheesy cheesehead cheaterhead. Let the sniffing begin, said the head judge lady. She handed Stink a clipboard. He took his sniffing very seriously. He walked up and down the rows and rows of torn sneakers, worn sneakers, yucky, blocky sneakers. He walked in front of the sneakers and behind the sneakers. Here a sniff, there a sniff, everywhere a sniff, sniff. Stink rated each pair on a smelly scale of 0 to 4. He wrote down notes like smells like a swamp and worse than a dead skunk and triple P.O. All the while he couldn't help wondering which pair was Sophie's. Hey, I'll give you a tip, Steve the Smeller handed Stink a tissue. Take a whiff of a pair of sneakers, then hold the tissue up to your nose between sniffs. That way your sense of smell won't get so tired. Thanks, says Stink. Wowee. A professional tip from Professional Smells a Lot himself. Stink puffed up with pride. He sniffed the next pair. What do you smell? Steve asked. Feet, said Stink. He did a tissue trick, then smelled the sneakers again. What else? Asked Steve. Dirt, old carpet smell, maybe even moldy cheese. Good for you, said Steve. Moldy cheese, that's exactly what I thought. Stink sniffs more sneakers. He couldn't help thinking that his were still the smelliest. He couldn't help thinking that he could have won the Golden Clothespin Award. Until he came to Sally's sneaker pair number 13, that is. Sneak leaned over and took another whiff. Phew! His eyes crossed, his nose wrinkled, his tongue curled. Number 13 smelled worse than a barn full of bats. Worse than a basement full of rats. Number 13 smelled stinkier than the litter boxes of 1,000 cats. He sniffed number 13. He sniffed the clean tissue from Steve, the smeller. Then he sniffed pair number 13 again. All the toilet water in the world could not have made his shoes as smelly as these sneakers. Stinky Moody, Judge and Junior Sniffer had found a real winner. Away official want to barf, gag me with a spoon winner. Geez Louise, said the lady judge when she came to number 13. Jump back, Jack. I think I'm going to pass out. This one's a Humpty of a Dumpty, Professor Smeller agreed. Rotten eggs, said the lady judge. Burnt hair, said Steve. Cat pee, said Stink. And dead worms. He's got the nose all right, said the professor. Not many noses would pick up on the dead worm smell. Worse than rancid roadkill, said the lady. Worse than C4H9SEH, said Steve. What's that? asked Stink. Skunk spray, Steve told him. Stink cracked up. Stink knew for sure now. These sneakers would be outlawed in outer space. These skunks were number 10 on a scale of 0 to 4. All the king's horses and all the bad smell could not smell the number uno. All times world's stinkiest sneakers, putrid pair number 13. Stink wrote down his final score. He turned in his clipboard. All the votes were counted. At last it was time. It was announced the grand prize winner of the all-time world's worst super stinky sneaker contest. Professor Steve stepped up to the microphone. Attention! May I have your attention, please? Everybody gathered around. All ears were listening. Not even a dog barked. We are pleased to announce the winners of the 10th annual all-time world's worst super stinky sneaker contest. It was a close call. All sneakers in the contest were truly worthy, truly smelly. We have two runners up in number 6 and number 37. Please step up to the podium. Number 6, he said, holding out a red ribbon. These puppies smell worse than dog breath. Congratulations. Now get them out of here. Number 37, said Steve, handing another red ribbon. Your stinkers make a pile of garbage smell sweet. Congratulations. Everybody clapped and cheered. Steve could hardly wait to hear her secret and take the grand prize, the Golden Clothespin Award. Now, the moment we've been waiting for. There's one pair of sneakers that all three judges gave them top score of 4+++. The grand prize winner of the Golden Clothespin Award is ... number 13. Who has number 13? Please come up front to the judge's podium and claim your prize. 13? Did he just say 13? That's me, yelled Sophie of the Owls. Clothespin, one gift certificate for a new pair of sweet-smelling sticker, and last but not least, one free trip for 2 to the Odor Munchers Air Freshener Factory. Thank you, said Sophie, holding up the trophy. Hundreds of people were clapping and yelling, woohoo! A guy from the newspaper was even snapping pictures. Tell us, said Steve the Smeller, what's your secret, Sophie? What makes your sneakers so smelly? Simple, said Sophie. No socks. When my parents make me take a bath, I hang my feet over the edge of the tub and don't wash them. Ever. P.U., said Professor Smeller. Congratulations, young lady. Your shoes will be entered into the Hall of Fumes at the Community Center, where hopefully they can be seen but not smelled by all. Can I have your autograph? Sophie asked. Sure, said Steve. Me too, said Sting. Can you sign my shoe? Professor Steve smells a lot, signed Stinky's smelly sneaker. From one master sniffer to another, Steve wrote. I'll never ever wash those shoes now. After the contest, Sophie of the Elves and Webster came back to Stink's house for pizza. Sophie passed the shiny golden clothespin award around for everybody to see. Are you sure you're not mad about the contest? Sophie asked him. I know how much you wanted to win and get the golden clothespin trophy and everything. That was before, said Sting. Before I knew my friend was going to take me to the air freshener factory. Hint, hint, Sophie giggled. And before I got to meet Professor Smeller in person and be a junior sniffer for a day. He told me I have the nose. What could be better than that? And I got something even smellier than a golden clothespin trophy. What? Said Sophie. Spill it, said Webster. I can't spill it, said Sting. Never, ever, ever. He held out a vial around his neck. In this vial is something even more vile than the stinky perfume. Stinkier than C4H9SEH skunk spray. Smelliest of all smells. Stink waved the open vial in front of their nostrils. P.U. Webster ran for the window. Sophie's eyes watered. Behold, genuine and for real eau de corpse flower. Professor Smelly went to Washington, D.C. before coming to the judge contest, and he smelled a real corpse flower named Mr. Stinky. And he got to take scientific samples. In this jar is 1 drop of Super-Stinky essence of the corpse flower. No lie. You mean you're really going to wear that vial? Asked Webster. Always, said Stink. Now we're going to have to call you Super Stink, said Sophie of the Elves. Then I'll have to call you Sophie of the Smells. Hey, no fair, said Webster. You're Super Stink and she's Sophie of the Smells. I want a smelly name too. Webster. How about the Smellster, says Sting. Perfect, said the Smellster. Now all your friends are smelly, Stink, said Judy. How'd you get all the names Stink anyway, said Sophie of the Smells. Her, said Stink, pointing to Judy. I'll tell it, Judy said. See, when Stink was a baby, Dad started calling him Peanut. I was jealous because Dad had always called me Peanut, so I tried to think up a new name. Then one day, Dad was changing Stink's dirty diaper. Ew, said Webster, pinching his nose. If you want to be a master sniffer, you have to be able to smell dirty diapers, said Stink. Professor Steve said so. Okay, Professor smells himself a lot, said Judy. Anyway, it was really stinky, so I started singing the song I learned in Perfume. Don't sing it, said Stink, covering his ears. Sing it, said Webster and Sophie. Sounds like old McDonald had a farm. My little brother smells so bad. Stinky, stinky boo. With a stink, stink here and a stink, stink there. Here a stink, there a stink, everywhere a stink, stink. My little brother smells so bad. Stinky, stinky boo. Sophie of the Smells and the Smellster joined in on the last verse. Sophie sprayed soda on the sink from laughing. Webster was clutching his stomach and rolling on the floor. Ever since then we call him Stinky Poo, said Judy. Then one day it got shortened to just plain Stink, said Stink. And now it's Super Stink, said Sophie and Webster. Super Stink couldn't help smiling. Today had given him a brand new philosophy of life. That night, as Stink drifted off to sleep, visions of cold flower danced in his head. Rumple Stinkskin, Stink. The nose, moody, way official junior sniffer was on his way. The end.